The London Palladium stood tall against the November evening sky, its golden lights casting a warm glow across the busy street. Inside the historic theater, something magical was happening. The Royal Variety performance was about to begin, and everyone knew that tonight would be special. The reason was simple. Prince William and Princess Kate were coming. Kate stood in front of her bedroom mirror at Kensington Palace, putting the finishing touches on her makeup. Her reflection showed a woman who had grown confident in her royal role over the years. Tonight, she had chosen a stunning navy blue dress that sparkled softly under the lights. The dress hugged her figure perfectly, and she had paired it with her grandmother's pearl earrings, a touch that always made her feel connected to family. William walked into the room, adjusting his black bow tie. He looked handsome in his classic tuxedo. But Kate could see the familiar signs of nervousness in his eyes. Even after all these years, public events still made him a bit anxious. She walked over to him and fixed his tie with gentle hands. "You look perfect," she said softly, giving him an encouraging smile. "So do you," he replied, taking her hand. "Are you ready for the cameras tonight? You know how they get at these events." Kate laughed lightly. "When am I ever ready for them? But we'll manage, just like we always do." Their car ride to the Palladium was quiet but comfortable. Kate looked out the window at the London streets, watching people going about their evening routines. Some were heading home from work, others were going out for dinner. She sometimes wondered what it would be like to have such freedom, to walk down the street without people taking photos or asking questions. But tonight wasn't about wondering. Tonight was about duty, about supporting the arts, and about showing the British people that their royal family cared about the same things they did. The Royal Variety performance had been a tradition for over a century, and Kate felt honored to be part of that history. As their car approached the theater, Kate could see the crowds gathering behind the barriers. Photographers were setting up their equipment, and reporters were checking their microphones. The red carpet stretched from the street to the theater entrance, lined with flowers and royal emblems. "Here we go," William said, squeezing her hand. The car stopped, and immediately Kate could hear the excited voices of the crowd. Their protection officer opened the door, and William stepped out first. The noise hit them like a wave, cameras clicking, people calling their names, and the general buzz of excitement that always surrounded royal events. William turned and offered his hand to Kate. As she stepped out of the car, the crowd's excitement grew even louder. She had learned over the years to pause for a moment when she first emerged, giving the photographers time to get their shots. It was a small gesture, but one that made everyone's job easier. Kate's dress caught the light beautifully as she stood beside William. The cameras flashed continuously, creating an almost strobe-like effect. She had grown used to this over the years, but it still felt overwhelming sometimes. The trick was to focus on one friendly face in the crowd, or to think about something pleasant while the photos were being taken. Tonight, she thought about her children. George, Charlotte, and Louis were at home, probably getting ready for bed. She imagined them in their pajamas, brushing their teeth and arguing about which bedtime story they wanted to hear. The thought made her smile naturally, and that smile was exactly what the photographers were hoping to capture. The theater manager approached them, a tall man in an elegant suit who looked both nervous and excited. "Your Royal Highnesses, welcome to the London Palladium. We are absolutely thrilled to have you here tonight." "Thank you for having us," Kate replied warmly. "We're looking forward to the show." As they walked along the red carpet, Kate and William stopped several times to speak with the organizers and performers. Kate had always enjoyed these conversations. She loved hearing about people's passions, whether it was music, comedy, or dance. Tonight's lineup included some of Britain's most talented entertainers, and she was genuinely excited to see their performances. One young dancer, probably no older than 16, was waiting nervously near the entrance. When she saw Kate approaching, her eyes widened with excitement and terror. Kate noticed her immediately and walked over. "Are you performing tonight?" Kate asked gently. "Yes, Your Royal Highness," the girl replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "How wonderful. What's your name?" "Emma, Your Royal Highness." "Well, Emma, I'm sure you're going to be fantastic. How long have you been dancing?" As they talked, Kate could see the girl's nervousness melting away. This was one of the things Kate loved most about her role. These small moments of human connection. By the time their conversation ended, Emma was smiling brightly and looked much more confident. The photographers captured every moment of this interaction, but Kate wasn't thinking about them. She was focused on making this young performer feel valued and supported. These were the moments that made all the public scrutiny worth it. Inside the theater, the atmosphere was electric. The Palladium had been beautifully decorated for the evening, with royal blue and gold accents throughout. The audience was a mix of celebrities, performers' families, and members of the public who had won tickets through various charities. Kate and William were led to the royal box, which offered a perfect view of the stage. As they took their seats, the audience below began to notice them. A gentle wave of applause spread through the theater, and Kate smiled and waved back. She had learned that acknowledging the audience's enthusiasm was important. It made them feel included in the royal experience. The lights dimmed, and the show began. The first performance was a group of young musicians from a London school. They were clearly nervous, but their talent shone through. Kate found herself genuinely moved by their performance. These were kids from ordinary backgrounds who had worked incredibly hard to develop their skills. Throughout the evening, Kate and William watched comedians who made them laugh out loud, singers who brought tears to their eyes, and dancers who amazed them with their skill and creativity. During each performance, the cameras occasionally turned to capture the royal couple's reactions, but they seemed genuinely absorbed in the show. During the intermission, they met with some of the performers backstage. Kate was particularly drawn to an elderly magician who had been performing for over 50 years. His hands shook slightly as he showed them a simple card trick, but his eyes sparkled with the same enthusiasm he must have had as a young man. "I've been doing this since before you were born, Your Royal Highness," he said to Kate with a chuckle. "And you're still bringing joy to people," Kate replied. These backstage moments were always precious to Kate. Away from the main cameras and crowds, she could have more natural conversations. She learned about people's dreams, their struggles, and their passions. Tonight, she spoke with a young comedian who was supporting his family through his performances, and a singer who had overcome a serious illness to pursue her career. As the second half of the show began, Kate noticed that more photographers had gathered in the areas around the royal box. She knew that the evening's biggest photo opportunities would come when they left the theater. The exit shots were always the most sought after, as they showed the royal couple in a more relaxed state after enjoying the evening. The final performance was a group number featuring many of the evening's performers. As the curtain fell and the audience erupted in applause, Kate felt genuinely uplifted. These events reminded her why the arts were so important. They brought people together, they inspired creativity, and they provided escape and joy in a sometimes difficult world. As they prepared to leave their box, William leaned over to Kate. "Ready for round 2 with the cameras?" "Always," she replied with a grin. They made their way back through the theater, stopping to thank the organizers and say goodbye to some of the performers. The young dancer, Emma, was waiting near the exit with her parents. When she saw Kate, she ran over with a huge smile. "Your Royal Highness, thank you so much for talking to me earlier. It really helped. You were absolutely wonderful tonight," Kate told her sincerely. "Keep dancing." As they approached the theater exit, Kate could already hear the noise from outside. The crowd had grown larger during the show, and the photographers had multiplied. This was the moment everyone had been waiting for. The exit photos that would appear in newspapers and magazines around the world the next morning. The theater doors opened, and once again, they were hit by the wall of sound and flashing lights. But something was different about Kate tonight. Maybe it was the wonderful performances she had just witnessed, or maybe it was the joy of connecting with so many talented people. But she seemed to glow with genuine happiness. The cameras caught every moment as she and William walked slowly toward their waiting car. Kate's dress shimmered under the streetlights, and her smile was radiant. This wasn't the practiced smile of someone doing their duty. This was the natural expression of someone who had genuinely enjoyed their evening. Photographers called out to them, asking them to look in different directions. But Kate and William moved at their own pace. They stopped briefly to accept a bouquet of flowers from a young girl in the crowd, and Kate bent down to chat with her for a moment. Even this simple gesture was captured from dozens of angles. As they reached their car, a photographer called out, "Princess Kate, how was the show?" Instead of the usual polite non-answer, Kate paused and replied, "It was absolutely wonderful. So much talent." This brief interaction would be quoted in every newspaper report the next day. It was rare for members of the royal family to give spontaneous responses to photographers' questions, but Kate's enthusiasm for the evening had made her more open than usual. As William opened the car door for her, Kate turned back toward the theater one last time. The photographers captured this moment perfectly. Her face lit up with genuine joy, her dress catching the light, and the historic Palladium behind her. It was a photo that would become iconic, representing not just a royal night out, but a celebration of British arts and culture. The car door closed, and slowly they drove away from the theater. But the photographers continued shooting until the royal car disappeared around the corner, their cameras flashing relentlessly into the London night. Inside the car, Kate and William finally relaxed, both feeling satisfied with an evening well spent. The following morning brought something unusual to Kensington Palace. Kate woke up to her phone buzzing with messages from her private secretary, and even before she had her morning tea, she knew something significant had happened. The photos from the previous evening had created a sensation that no one had expected. Kate walked to her study and opened her laptop. The internet was full of images from their exit from the Royal Variety performance. But these weren't just ordinary royal photos. Something about the lighting, Kate's expression, and the moment itself had created pictures that seemed almost magical. Headlines read, "Princess Kate glows like never before," and "The radiant royal exit that stunned the world." William joined her, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "Have you seen the news?" he asked, though Kate's expression already gave him the answer. "I can't believe how much attention these photos are getting," Kate said, scrolling through article after article. "Look at this one. They're calling it the most beautiful royal photo of the decade." What Kate didn't know was that one photographer in particular had captured something extraordinary. James Morrison had been covering royal events for 20 years, but he had never taken a photo quite like the one he got last night. As Kate had turned back toward the theater for that final glance, the streetlights, camera flashes, and her genuine expression had combined to create an image that seemed to glow from within. James sat in his small London apartment, staring at the photo on his computer screen. He had spent the night editing images, but this one needed almost no work. The lighting was perfect, Kate's expression was radiant, and there was something about the composition that felt almost cinematic. He knew this was the best photo he had ever taken. Meanwhile, at the major newspapers and magazines, editors were having urgent meetings. The demand for these photos was unprecedented. Social media was exploding with shares and comments. People weren't just admiring the pictures. They were talking about how happy Kate looked, how the royal couple seemed more relaxed and genuine than ever before. Sarah Chen, the photo editor at a leading magazine, was fielding calls from around the world. "I've never seen anything like this," she told her assistant. "We have newspapers in Japan, Australia, and America all wanting to license these photos. It's like the whole world has fallen in love with this moment." But the story was bigger than just pretty pictures. Social media experts were analyzing why these particular images had captured public imagination so powerfully. Dr. Amanda Rivers, who studied celebrity culture, appeared on morning television to discuss the phenomenon. "What we're seeing here is authenticity," she explained to the television host. "In an age where everything feels calculated and staged, these photos capture a moment of genuine joy. Princess Kate isn't just posing for the cameras, she's genuinely happy, and that comes through in every image." Back at Kensington Palace, Kate was beginning to understand the scope of what was happening. Her private secretary, Jenny, briefed her on the media response during their regular morning meeting. "The engagement on social media is extraordinary," Jenny explained. "The official royal family accounts have gained thousands of new followers overnight. But more importantly, the response is overwhelmingly positive. People are talking about how approachable and genuine you appeared." Kate found this feedback both encouraging and slightly overwhelming. She had always tried to be authentic in her public appearances, but she had never expected such a strong response to what felt like a natural moment. Throughout the day, more stories emerged about the evening. Interviews with the performers revealed how much Kate and William's genuine interest had meant to them. Emma, the young dancer Kate had spoken with, appeared on a local news program with her parents. "Princess Kate was so kind to me," Emma said, her face lighting up. "She didn't just say nice things because she had to. You could tell she really cared about how I was feeling. When I saw her after the show, she remembered my name and asked how I thought my performance went. It made me feel so special." These stories added depth to the visual narrative of the photos. People weren't just seeing beautiful images. They were learning about the genuine connections that had been made throughout the evening. The combination of stunning photography and heartwarming stories created a perfect media storm. At the London Palladium, theatre manager Robert Davies was fielding his own flood of calls. Media outlets wanted to know everything about the royal visit. Tour companies were asking about recreating the evening's events. The theater's social media following had tripled overnight. "In 40 years of working in theater, I've never seen a royal visit generate this much positive attention," Robert told a journalist. "But it makes sense when you think about it. Their Royal Highnesses genuinely enjoyed themselves. They connected with our performers, and it showed. You can't fake that kind of authentic enthusiasm." The photos were being shared by celebrities, politicians, and ordinary people around the world. Each share came with comments about how beautiful Kate looked, how happy the royal couple seemed, or how proud people felt of British culture and arts. The evening had become a symbol of something larger: the power of authentic public service and genuine human connection. Fashion magazines were having their own field day. Kate's navy blue dress became an instant sensation. The designer, a relatively unknown British artist, suddenly found herself with a waiting list of hundreds of customers. Fashion bloggers analyzed every detail of Kate's look, from her jewelry choices to her hairstyle. "This is what we call the Kate effect on steroids," wrote fashion journalist Lisa Martin. "But it's not just about the dress. It's about how she carried herself, how confident and joyful she looked. That's what made the whole look so compelling." The royal family's communication team was working overtime to manage the response. While the attention was positive, the sheer volume of media requests was unprecedented. They had to carefully balance accessibility with privacy, making sure the family could capitalize on the goodwill while maintaining appropriate boundaries. Prince William was amused by the whole situation. During lunch with Kate, he couldn't help but tease her gently. "So, I see you've broken the internet," he said with a grin. "We broke the internet," Kate corrected. "We were both there." "Yes. But let's be honest. They're not calling me radiant and glowing," William replied, laughing. Kate appreciated his humor. But she was also taking the situation seriously. She understood that moments like this were opportunities to advance causes she cared about. Her private secretary had already received requests from arts organizations hoping to partner with the royal family on new initiatives. By afternoon, international news outlets were picking up the story. The photos appeared on the front pages of newspapers in Paris, New York, and Sydney. News anchors around the world were discussing the Princess Kate phenomenon and what it meant for the British royal family's global image. Professor James Hamilton, who studied modern monarchy at Oxford University, was asked to provide expert commentary. "What we're witnessing is a perfect example of how the royal family can capture global imagination when they appear authentic and relatable," he explained. "These photos show Princess Kate and Prince William not as distant figures, but as real people enjoying themselves and connecting with others. That's incredibly powerful in today's media environment." The economic impact was becoming clear too. The Royal Variety Performance organizers reported a massive spike in ticket sales for future shows. British tourism agencies noted increased interest in London theatre bookings from international visitors. The soft power value of positive royal coverage was immeasurable. Kate spent part of the afternoon reading through some of the social media comments. While her staff usually filtered feedback, she liked to stay connected to public reaction. The comments were overwhelmingly positive, but what struck her most were the personal stories people shared. One comment read, "Seeing Princess Kate so genuinely happy made me smile on a really tough day. Thank you for reminding us that joy is still possible." Another said, "My daughter wants to be a performer, and seeing how kind Princess Kate was to the young dancers has inspired her to keep practicing." These personal connections reminded Kate why her role mattered. Beyond the glamour and publicity, these moments had the power to inspire and uplift people. The photos from last night weren't just pretty pictures. They were evidence of positive human connection that resonated with people around the world. As evening approached, Kate reflected on the strange turn her life had taken in just 24 hours. Yesterday, she had simply attended a variety show. Today, she was at the center of a global media phenomenon. It was overwhelming, but also encouraging. If people responded this positively to authenticity and genuine engagement, then perhaps she was on the right track with her approach to royal duties. The photographers who had captured the moments were also experiencing their own career-defining day. James Morrison, whose final photo of Kate turning back to the theater had become the most iconic, found himself booked for interviews and exhibitions, but he remained humble about his role in the phenomenon. "I was just doing my job," he told a radio interviewer. "Princess Kate created the moment. I just happened to capture it." The real magic was her genuine joy and the way she connected with everyone throughout the evening. The camera just recorded what was already there. As Kate prepared for bed that night, she looked at one of the photos on her phone. She could see what everyone was talking about. There was something special about the lighting and her expression, but more than that, she could remember exactly how she had felt in that moment. The joy was real. The connections were authentic. And the evening had been genuinely wonderful. She realized that this experience had taught her something important about her role. When she was truly herself, when she allowed her genuine enthusiasm and care for people to show, it created something powerful. The public could sense authenticity, and they responded to it with warmth and engagement. Tomorrow would bring new responsibilities and challenges, but tonight's success had given her confidence. She knew that finding the balance between duty and authenticity wasn't always easy, but moments like this proved it was worth the effort. The photos would fade from the headlines eventually, but the connections made and the joy shared would last much longer. 3 months had passed since the royal variety performance, but the impact of that magical evening continued to ripple through countless lives. What had started as a single night at the theater had grown into something much larger. A movement that changed how people thought about royal duties, authentic leadership, and the power of genuine human connection. Kate stood in her private office at Kensington Palace, looking through a thick folder of letters that had arrived over the past weeks. These weren't the usual formal correspondence that came with royal life. These were personal messages from ordinary people whose lives had been touched by that evening in various ways. One letter was from a mother in Manchester whose daughter had been inspired to audition for her school's drama program after seeing how Kate interacted with young performers. Another came from a photographer in Wales who had decided to focus his career on capturing authentic moments rather than posed shots, inspired by the genuine emotion in the famous exit photos. But perhaps the most meaningful letter came from Emma, the young dancer Kate had spoken with before the show. Emma's handwriting was careful and neat, as she described how that brief conversation had given her the confidence to audition for a prestigious dance academy. She had been accepted and would be starting classes in the fall. "Dear Princess Kate," the letter began. "You probably don't remember me, but you changed my life that night at the Palladium. When you took the time to talk to me and remember my name, you made me feel like my dreams mattered. I wanted you to know that I got into the Royal Ballet School, and every time I feel nervous, I remember how kind you were, and it gives me courage." Kate carefully placed Emma's letter in a special box where she kept correspondence that particularly moved her. These letters reminded her why her role mattered beyond the ceremonies and official duties. The success of that evening had led to unexpected opportunities. The Royal Variety Charity had received record donations, allowing them to expand their support for struggling performers. Several major corporations had reached out about sponsoring arts education programs. Most importantly, young people across Britain were engaging with the arts in greater numbers than anyone had seen in years. Dr. Patricia Moore, who ran a children's theater program in Birmingham, had been tracking this phenomenon. "We've seen a 40% increase in enrollment since the Royal Variety performance," she told Kate during a recent visit. "But it's not just the numbers. It's the enthusiasm. Kids are talking about wanting to perform for the royal family someday. They're setting higher goals for themselves." The photographs themselves had taken on a life of their own. James Morrison, the photographer who had captured the most famous image, had been invited to exhibit his work at galleries around the world, but he had chosen to do something different with his success. He started a photography workshop program for disadvantaged youth, teaching them to capture authentic moments in their own communities. "That night taught me that the best photography happens when you're documenting real emotion and genuine connection," James explained to his students during their first class. "Technical skills are important, but what makes a photo memorable is the truth it captures." Kate had visited James's workshop the previous month, and seeing those young photographers learning to find beauty and authenticity in everyday moments had filled her with pride. The ripple effects of one evening continued to spread in directions no one could have predicted. The fashion impact had been equally significant. The designer of Kate's navy blue dress had become a household name. But more importantly, she had used her newfound success to create employment opportunities for young fashion graduates. Her studio had grown from a small operation to a company employing over 50 people. "Princess Kate didn't just wear my dress," designer Hannah Clark explained to a fashion magazine. "She showed the world what it looks like when someone wears clothes with genuine confidence and joy." That's a lesson I try to incorporate into everything we create now. The media industry had also been influenced by the evening's success. Several major publications had shifted their approach to covering royal events, focusing more on authentic moments and meaningful interactions rather than just glamorous photos and protocol details. Magazine editor Sarah Chen had pioneered this new approach. "The response to those exit photos taught us something important about what readers really want," she explained to her team during their monthly meeting. "People are hungry for authenticity. They want to see real emotions, real connections, real impact. That's what we should be looking for in every story we tell." This shift had influenced how other public figures approached their own media appearances. Politicians, celebrities, and business leaders were all studying what had made Kate's appearance so successful. The combination of genuine engagement, authentic emotion, and meaningful purpose had become a template for effective public communication. But perhaps the most significant impact had been on Kate herself. The overwhelming positive response had given her new confidence in her instincts about how to approach her royal role. She had always believed in the importance of genuine connection and authentic engagement, but the success of that evening had validated her approach in a very public way. During a private dinner with William, she reflected on how the experience had changed her perspective. "I used to worry so much about saying the right thing or looking perfect in photos," she confided. "But that night taught me that people respond to genuine emotion more than perfect protocol. When I'm truly myself, when I let my real enthusiasm and care show, that's when we make the biggest impact." End quote. William had watched his wife's growing confidence with admiration. "You've always been authentic," he told her. "But now you seem more comfortable letting people see that authenticity. It's made you even more effective in this role." The Royal Variety performance organizers had decided to make Kate and William's approach the standard for future events. Instead of formal, distant interactions, they were encouraging more personal connections between royal guests and performers. The change had transformed the entire atmosphere of these traditional events. Theater manager Robert Davies had implemented new procedures based on what worked so well that November evening. "We now schedule more informal meet-and-greet time," he explained to other venue managers. "We encourage performers to share their stories, not just their performances. The result is that everyone, the audience, the performers, and our royal guests, has a more meaningful experience." The international impact had been equally remarkable. Royal families from other countries had sent representatives to study how Kate and William had achieved such positive global coverage. The combination of supporting local arts, engaging authentically with people, and allowing genuine emotion to show had become a model for modern royal engagement. Crown Princess Victoria of Sweden had even implemented a similar approach to her own cultural events. with great success. What Princess Catherine showed us is that royal duty and personal authenticity don't have to be separate things, she said in an interview. When you genuinely care about the people and causes you're supporting, it shows. And people respond to that sincerity. The arts community had been among the biggest beneficiaries of the evening's success. Funding applications that mentioned the Princess Kate effect were being approved at higher rates. Corporate sponsors were more interested in supporting cultural events. Most importantly, public appreciation for the arts was at its highest level in decades. Sir Anthony Hopkins, the veteran actor, had spoken about this cultural shift during a recent awards ceremony. What we witnessed that night at the Palladium was the power of authentic appreciation for artistic expression, he said. When someone of Princess Catherine's stature shows genuine enthusiasm for the arts, it reminds society of why creativity and cultural expression matter. The young performers from that evening had all gone on to achieve remarkable things. The teenage musicians had been invited to perform at prestigious venues. The comedian Kate had spoken with backstage had landed his first television appearance. Emma, the dancer, was thriving at ballet school and had been chosen for a featured role in their spring production. Each of these success stories could be traced back to the confidence and encouragement they had received that night. Kate's genuine interest in their work and her natural ability to make them feel valued had given them the boost they needed to pursue bigger opportunities. As the first anniversary of the performance approached, Kate was planning something special. Working with the Royal Variety Charity, she was organizing a reunion event where she could catch up with the performers and see how their careers had progressed. But more than that, she wanted to use the occasion to launch a new initiative supporting young artists across Britain. The Authentic Arts program would provide mentorship, funding, and performance opportunities for young people from all backgrounds who showed artistic promise. But the focus wouldn't just be on talent. It would be on helping young artists develop confidence, authenticity, and the ability to connect with audiences through genuine expression. We want to support the whole person, not just their artistic skills, Kate explained to the program's development team. That night at the Palladium taught me that the most powerful performances come from people who are comfortable being themselves. That's what we want to nurture. The program's launch had already attracted support from major corporations, established artists, and cultural institutions. But Kate was most excited about the partnerships with schools and community organizations that would ensure the program reached young people who might not otherwise have access to such opportunities. As she prepared for the anniversary event, Kate reflected on how much had changed since that November evening. What had started as a routine royal engagement had become a defining moment in her public life. More importantly, it had shown her the incredible ripple effects that could come from genuine, authentic leadership. The photographs from that night still appeared regularly in magazines and social media posts. But their meaning had evolved. They were no longer just beautiful images of a royal couple at a theater event. They had become symbols of the power of authenticity, the importance of supporting the arts, and the magic that happens when public figures genuinely connect with the people they serve. On the anniversary evening, as Kate and William returned to the London Palladium, the atmosphere was both familiar and different. The same photographers were there. The same red carpet was rolled out, and the same excitement filled the air. But everyone involved, from the organizers to the performers to the royal couple themselves, understood that they were part of something larger than a single evening's entertainment. As Kate stepped out of the car, once again radiant in the camera flashes, she felt the same genuine joy she had experienced a year earlier. But now it was enhanced by the knowledge of all the good that had come from that previous evening. The young artists who had been inspired to pursue their dreams, the increased support for cultural programs, and the broader appreciation for authentic leadership. All of this had grown from one night of genuine engagement and authentic connection. The cameras flashed relentlessly once again, but this time they were capturing not just a moment, but the anniversary of a movement that proved authenticity, genuine care, and real human connection could create magic that lasted far beyond any single photograph or evening. The legacy of that perfect night continued to glow, illuminating new possibilities and inspiring others to lead with both purpose and authenticity.